Ashton Jeanty, everybody's got a ton of opinions. I don't want to relitigate whether or not you should draft a running back this high. I just don't. But I do think there are a lot of what ifs here. So, Jory, what's your best what if on Ashton Jeanty?
I think my what if with Ashton Jeanty is what if the Chicago Bears get him in the first round? And I love this idea because I think when you look at what Ben Johnson, current Chicago Bears head coach, did when he was the offensive coordinator in Detroit, when they took Jahmyr Gibbs 11th overall, we're like, a running back 11th overall in this economy? And I think that we kind of go through this and we say, oh, actually, having David Montgomery and having Jahmyr Gibbs, that looks good. Having two running backs, having an offensive line scheme, that plays well to what Ben Johnson can do. And to me, when I look at what the Bears should be doing, clearly the number one thing Ben Johnson needs to succeed is to be able to help Caleb Williams thrive. That, to me, is not about the passing game looking amazing. The Bears tried to give Caleb Williams a deep receiver stable last year, but he didn't have the protection. They didn't have the run game. There were some questions on defense at times. And so I think, to me, helping Caleb Williams is not allowing him to show his strengths. It is protecting him and giving him a higher floor rather than trying to reach that ceiling.
I've said this before, and I want to say it again because I'm almost wish casting this at this point, but I could just see the puzzle pieces fitting. I think the Denver Broncos trade up into the top 5 and get Ashton Jeanty. Like I think that they trade. I think they trade with Jacksonville. Here, I unearthed this, and DenverBroncos.com is where I got this, and I couldn't believe it. In Sean Payton's last 13 drafts with the New Orleans Saints, that team traded up 22 times and never traded down ever. Like in his last 13 drafts. In his first 2 Broncos drafts, they traded up 3 times for players. Once was Marvin Mims, Sean Payton's first pick as the Broncos, whatever. I mean, we all know he's running the show there. Second pick, Riley Moss, they traded up to get him. Last year's draft, they traded up for Troy Franklin. And Sean Payton's teams in 17 drafts have only traded down 1 time without a veteran player coming back to them. They've traded down a couple times with a veteran player coming back. But Sean Payton does not trade back in the draft. He trades up. And we saw reports today, the Broncos are putting out feelers about trading up in the NFL draft. Yeah, no kidding. That's what Sean Payton does. The Broncos did nothing at running back all offseason. And yes, they could sit there and probably take Omari and Hampton. He's a very good back, but Sean Payton likes to swing big in the draft. And I think that they're looking at this like, yes, if you look at the value charts, it would cost the Broncos the 20th pick, next year's first, and a 3rd round pick to move up to 5. That's very steep. I get that. But Sean Payton has never cared before. Look at the Marcus Davenport trade. They traded a future first to go get him. Why wouldn't they trade way up for a position they need for a player who might be one of the top 3 players in this NFL draft? And he's on a different plane than every other running back. I think I really truly think there's a shot that this happens. They move ahead of the Raiders, so they're worried about taking there was 6. Now the Jaguars might take Jeanty with 5. I think that's on the board too. But I think it's the Broncos. I think the Broncos take Jeanty. If you look at Sean Payton's history of saying, F these picks, I want my guy. I want a difference maker. Jeanty's the difference maker at the biggest position of need. And I think the Broncos feel they're close. I don't think the Broncos feel like, we can't trade draft assets. We're still rebuilding. No, they think we're really close with Bo Nix. Let's just go for this thing. That's Sean Payton's history. I'm putting it out into the ether, so I hope it happens because I think it would just be fun and awesome. And I think Jeanty would rush for 1,600 yards as a rookie. I think that Sean Payton with Jeanty would be magic, and I hope it happens.
At the risk of falling victim to recency bias, I think that if that happens, we should give Sean Payton the benefit of the doubt because even if he is giving off a boatload, like what he did with Bo Nix exceeded expectations so significantly that he deserves a little bit of that runway. And I think that, to me, there are head coaches in this league and play callers in this league who are able to identify talent well. There are other play callers and head coaches in this league who are able to develop and or scheme talent well. Sean Payton can do all of that. And so I trust that if he gets a player, particularly on offense where he is calling the plays, he is going to be able to maximize that player and get the value out of them.
I love that call, and I like the idea of trading up for Jeanty. I just had a different team on my what if. I keep thinking about the Cowboys and the all-in concept that we have for the Cowboys. I know that the Cowboys are not necessarily like the Cowboys have become a very smart, calculated team that uses the top of the draft very well. I want to give them a lot of credit organizationally. We're hard on Jerry Jones. Let's not be hard on the way they draft. They have drafted a lot of stars, right? But I keep looking at it thinking, man, all right, let's put these dots together. Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks were never afraid to trade down, and they were never afraid to trade down and still take a running back, frankly. If the Raiders, who have plenty of needs and plenty of best player available logic in their locker room are looking around and they get a big offer from Jerry Jones. I think about relationships. Jerry Jones, Mark Davis obviously have a connective relationship ever since the move to Vegas of some sort. So I look at all these things together and it just makes sense we get our new Zeke, we get our superstar. What about the Cowboys moving up? Jory, you're giving me a look of absolute disdain for this. Do you not like we out on the Cowboys moving up to get Ashton Jeanty?
Fitz, it's not 1993. The Cowboys are not moving up to get Ashton Jeanty. And I'm not even talking about the running back element. I'm talking about the Cowboys moving up and trading. Jerry Jones is not that wildcatter. And by the way, he said all in last year. He didn't say it this year. And his definition of all in, which he still believes he fulfilled, was getting Dak Prescott signed to a major contract and CeeDee Lamb signed to a major contract. If anything, the Cowboys being all in this year would be all in to signing Micah Parsons to a big contract. The Cowboys don't need to reach because they have a top personnel evaluator in Will McClay, who for years has been excellent at finding them prospects. They're more likely, in my opinion, to trade down and trade up. And I don't think they're going to trade down this year, but it has been a long time since they have said, you know what, we really want to go trade up for that guy. If anything, they often draft offensive linemen in the first round, which wouldn't surprise me. I know it's not a sexy pick by any means, but
terrible,
the Cowboys
but they
historically...
need it. They definitely need it. Like, you're right.
The Cowboys
and it's deep.
historically have very much been the type of team who, when they are good on the offensive line, they are good generally. And when they are not good on offensive line, they are not good. And oh, by the way, they drafted offensive line routinely in the first round when they had quarterback type backgrounds at their offensive coordinator. And this year they hired an offensive coordinator who was an offensive line coach most recently in Clayton Adams coming from Arizona. So I think that is very possible. But I mean, realistically, they do need a receiver. And to me, the Cowboys, one of the great things about their first round drafts, it's incredible how many of their recent first-round picks they've hit on, and some of them are so not what we're expecting. Micah Parsons, 12th overall. I was in the Cowboys building when they made that pick. It was 2021, and so we were kind of in that, like, we could be in the building, but we still had to wear masks, and it was a small group of us. And Jerry Jones told us that night, pressure, 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 which was to say that Micah Parsons, who was a full-time linebacker, not an edge rusher, not playing at the line, on the line of scrimmage at Penn State, that he was going to become an edge rusher. And we're like, oh yeah, classic Jerry optimist. He always thinks that the highest possible outcome is what's going to be the outcome. And then they did convert Micah to an edge rusher. CeeDee Lamb, it was surprising. It was like, you have all of these needs and you're taking a receiver when they still had receivers in the house. They still had Amari Cooper. And it was like, no, actually CeeDee Lamb falling to 17th was great value pick. And now he made it to another contract. And so I think that the Cowboys don't need to trade up. First of all, they didn't have their best year last year, so they have a higher pick than most of their recent natural drafts would have had. But also, they tend to find players where they're at, and they tend to do a good job of letting the board kind of come to them.
Maybe I'm just in my fantasy football hive mind here, but I think the Cowboys double tap at the skill positions. I think they draft a Matthew Golden at 12, Tatoria McMillan maybe at 12, and then go get one of the Ohio State backs in the second round. They need juice on that offense. They really do. Yeah. I mean, and this is a draft. But I also don't discount the Jeanty thing. We have to think about this. Like, Omarion Hampton's a really, really good prospect, and he's going to be worth a first round pick. And Jeanty is so much better than him. Like, I mean, this is just, he's on a superstar plane already. So I think that there's some team, I truly believe that some team is going to, I think Jeanty goes before 6. I really do. Like, I think some team is either going to move up or the Jaguars are going to be like, whatever, Mason Graham, whatever. We'll take Jeanty because he's a better player overall. He's becoming a really interesting figure in this draft for me.
If Jeanty is there at 12 when the Cowboys are on the board, they should absolutely take him.
The Bears
I just think,
him,
one,
right?
he's not going to be. The Bears are at 10. Yeah. You've got other teams before that who would be able to benefit from him. I just think that it is not going to be worth the cost to trade up.